Hi, Dr. Keith again for Third Age Wisdom, talking about inflammation. In fact, my 9 inflammations, and inflammation number 5, what is that? EMFs, that stands for electromagnetic fields. Electrical things, magnetic things, but more than anything else, it means electronic stuff. You know, your cell phone, your tablets, even the walking about phone in the house, which looks like a landline, but if you're carrying the Wi-Fi extension, then you're being irradiated. And some of this radiation can be quite serious. Cell phones, for example, are based on microwaves. Now, microwaves are what you use to cook a pizza. You know, you bring it home cold, put it in the microwave oven, switch on, and it goes bzzz and cooks it. So it'll do the same to you. Now, the scientists and specialists who are working for the telecoms industry, they're all shills, most of them, and they try and argue that it is not important biologically because there is no heating effect. In other words, it isn't going to cook you like a pizza. Well, this is very dishonest because it's based on an unwarranted assumption, which is the only negative could be heating effect and heat damage to your tissues. That's nonsense. The electromagnetic effect is much more powerful. See, our bodies operate on, well, in fact, the whole of life and being alive means that essentially you're an electrical organism. The definition of life isn't so much, you know, reproduction and respiration, all those things you learned at school. It's really at the surface of the cell, it's the electrical potential. And if that electrical potential is not there, the cell is dead. And the difference between me and a corpse is that the corpse has no electrical values. There's no electricity running and there's no membrane potential on all the cells. Whereas I have that, and therefore I'm alive and animated. You too. Well, you can imagine what's going to happen if you start screwing with this mechanism and coming along with much more intense electromagnetic fields. There is a phenomenon called induction, and it means if you stand near something electronic that's radiating or generating fields, it will induce the same field in your body. So all of a sudden you can light up just like a machine or a device. And there are some people in an almost constant state like this. They can pick up a light bulb, and just by holding it, the light bulb will start to glow. The person is carrying such a charge of electricity, it's capable of lighting bulbs. So trust me when I say heating effect is not the issue. It's the electrical effect on our bodies and tissues. Remember, all our nerves, the brain, all based on electrical activity. And if you screw with it, then you're going to get something going wrong. And sure enough, that's what is happening. I'm not even now talking about, you know, the brain tumor story and those things that we worry about. It's disturbance of thinking, performance, behavior. This is a nightmare if you're parents of young kids because they want their cell phone, and you know, you might feel it's safer for them to be carrying a phone, so you know, call home, say, come and get me, there's a bad man looking at me rather strangely. Yes, we've got all that comfort, but other than that, we really don't want our kids to be carrying around electronic devices because their nervous system is not properly formed. And while it's improperly formed, then you get, you know, you can have a misfire in many different ways. But of course, we're not kids anymore. We're grown up. We've got all our myelin sheaths. That means the sort of insulation around our nerves. That's true. All that's in place. But nevertheless, we can get extremely disturbed by these devices. Some people, they feel very sick if they're anywhere near a cell phone. People think they're crazy. Listen, when this first surfaced back in the 80s, you know, I was one of the pioneers in those days. And we used to think, well, my first thought was, you know, you switch the TV on, you feel sick. There's the obvious joke about, you know, watch something else instead of a crappy program. But what I thought it was when you switch on, the plastic wiring in the back starts to heat up and it gives off gases, and it's probably some kind of variation of chemical sensitivity. It took a few years, in fact, till about 1984, before the penny really dropped, that it was the electrical fields themselves that was making the person feel ill. And since then, of course, it's grown and grown to now where we know there's armies of people out there who suffer when they're too near a tablet or a cell phone device or something like that. Now, don't forget, in your home, you know, you've got your router for your Wi-Fi. That is usually a Wi-Fi transmission. You've got the phone, the walk-around phones. That's a Wi-Fi. All this means is radiation. You're being irradiated. Bluetooth, another one. Different levels, different degrees of irradiation all inflammatory, not some, all of it is inflammatory. The more of it you've got, the more inflamed you are. The more inflamed you are, the faster you age. This is bad news. And really, a lot of people welcome this electronic technological age. And there's some conveniences you can't argue, but I do not welcome what we're exposing ourselves to. The full story isn't even known yet, I don't think, and when it becomes fully known, I think it's going to be a bad news. I think a lot of people are going to throw away their smartphones probably and say, if you want me, call me on the landline or send me a text via email or something like that. Anyway, I just want you to alert you to that fact that electromagnetic fields can be a serious source of inflammation. Take care.